Let's do it.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it like I'm Stuart. That's a good little saying that we should start bringing to the rest of the world. Let's do it like I'm Stuart.
Let's do it like I'm Stuart. That could work.
Let's do it like I'm Stuart. That could be, and it's kind of like something about small. If you have a small penis, you'd be like, let's do it like I'm Stuart. Little.
Nike should change its thing to just do it like you're Stuart.
What would the world do? They have a huge press conference. They don't even have a press conference. They just change it. Like shit. Just do it like I'm Stuart. They're like, who's Stuart? And they just never explain it.
That's the kind of thing that would happen if like aliens came to Earth or something and they needed something to distract everything from them. Like, how can we make everyone kind of forget about that happening? And they're like, what if Nike changes its slogan to just do it like you're Stuart? And it just
all honesty, yeah. If there was a genocide.
It leads to all these people named Stuart just jumping off buildings and stuff because they can't handle it.
It'd be a lot. Like the whole world would talk about it. Like you're talking about a global conglomerate or whatever, and it's completely rebranding to something that doesn't really make sense.
The stock prices just plummet.
Imagine there's like such a ripple effect, and just like you're watching the news, it's like millions of people around the world left homeless after the Do It With Stuart campaign is completely plummeted Nike stocks, and then everything that came through with it. Like hundreds of thousands of workers lost their job. It would be fascinating.
Everyone starts to kind of change it. It's like global like outcry and everything's crazy for a little while, but then once the dust settles, it's actually like people kind of start taking after it. We move into this real kind of alternative, ironic, confusing world.
Blackface is just completely accepted. You just go outside and everyone's just or every white person's just in blackface, and they're like, well, I guess nothing means anything anymore, so I can do whatever I want.
McDonald's is like, I'm loving it, ... Michael. That doesn't really make any sense.
But... Nothing makes any sense anymore. What other brands are there? You've got I'm Loving It and Just Do It. They're probably the biggest, isn't there? Coke, Enjoy, Howard, or just something like that. So like Howard's going to enjoy this one. And like, who's Howard? Or you'd be like, yeah, better enjoy before it's all gone. And they're like, what does that even mean? Better enjoy before it's all gone. It's like, is it they're running out of stock or something like that? And the CEO's like, no, we're not. We're good. It's just Coke as usual.
What about like Subway, Eat Fresh, Jared, but not the Jared that used to work for us, who fraternized with some young women.
All the workers have to wear like extremely long hats to get all the text in. just like some tiny like 5'2" Cambodian woman, just you can barely see her face because she has to wear this oversized hat. It keeps falling down and completely covering her face. You can barely even make the sandwiches.
Their ad breaks have to go for an extra like 5 seconds. You get it all in there and they end up going bankrupt from the marketing department. What's up?
Like, Name, make those sandwiches. Name, we're waiting on an order still. And she's like, oh, I can't. It's covering my face. I can't see. Name, are you serious? This has been 5 times today. We're 5 minutes over this order. And she's like, no, sir, I can't see anything. It's covering my face. It's new hat. She's like, Name, you got one more chance. And then we could actually have to have a conversation after this.
Who's saying this? A customer or the boss?
The manager.
The manager.
An employee called Name, who's like a Cambodian woman, and the hat's completely covering her face because she has to wear it, part of the uniform. And it's got so many things on the... Anyway, folks, we're here.
She's like, I need this job so I can buy my children those new Nike sneakers for Christmas. Yeah, what's up with other Sausage Boys
So-
podcast?
I don't even understand. I don't even understand the Nike logo anymore. Fire me. I'm probably going to kill myself after this. I'm literally going to drive off the cliff. I refuse to work 60 hours a week to buy my children shoes with a phrase makes absolutely no sense.
Just do it.
Just do it, Stuart. Just do it like I'm Stuart. Okay, anyway. We're here.
We are
We're
here.
drinking beers.
Did you hear Ed Sheeran tested positive for COVID?
I literally have that down in my notes. I didn't write any jokes, by the way. I didn't write any jokes, by the way. So everyone, this is completely improvised. Everything we do off this. Everything.
Yeah, so Ed, it's funny because 2 weeks ago we were talking about Robin Thicke, and then he got cancelled, and then the next week we're talking about Ed Sheeran, and then he gets COVID.
Yeah, and then Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox are literally going to die of pneumonia or something like that. They get like stuck in the Arctic on a holiday.
I'm trying to think who can we talk about this week and put a hex.
Who can we talk about? Who's someone that's just kind of annoying? I wanted to talk about Timothy Chalamet. He kind of gets on my nerves.
Who's Timothy Chalamet?
He's the dude from Call Me By Your Name, and apparently some show called June or something like that. Everyone keeps talking about June. I have no idea what it is, but I also wanted to figure out what is June and why is everyone talking about it, and what's the deal with Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So there's a lot. There's a lot we've got to touch on today. But first off, we got Ed Sheeran. He's got COVID. Okay, what can we riff from this, folks? Hello, I got COVID. Sorry, I can't do your tours. Was he vaccinated as well?
I don't know. I don't think they're giving vaccinations to.
I was thinking, if Ed Sheeran was funny, he would just like start doing an Asian accent on interviews. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, so I got COVID," and he's just like slipping it in, like, "Oh yeah, I got COVID. I've been in my hotel room for a few days now." I found love for me. Just try my barometer. I found girl, beautiful, sweet.
I'm in love with your body.
He's like, sorry, everyone. I just got COVID. That's all. Love with shape of you. Roll your body. Yeah, that's not funny, folks. That's not funny. Anyway, that's not funny.
That's not funny. It's also not even like ironic. Like it just is what it is.
It's what it is. Ed Sheeran putting on a faint Chinese accent would be a very good move.
That is a good move. Has anyone actually turned?
It's like, what will you do if he's just like really subtle? He's like, I'm in love with the shape of you. I'm in love with your body. Oh, sorry, folks. It looks like I'm still getting over that COVID for a few weeks ago. Am I right? Sorry, folks.
It's just funny that it's even like a news article. I was having like when I had a look and I saw that it's like, oh, Ed Sheeran has COVID, and then the story underneath it was like, oh yeah, this guy has died from like prostate cancer. And I'm like, why is like Ed Sheeran getting COVID taking priority over the guy from Friends?
I Oh, that's true. Yeah, someone literally died. I was thinking that exact same thing. Because again, when I'm writing all these topics, I'm thinking to myself, I want to keep it diverse. I don't want to just kind of get so overwhelmed with like American media. Because I know so many people can do that. And it's like the whole world is American media or entertainment or celebrities. Like it's very easy to kind of get caught up in that. And that's all that really matters.
Yes.
But and then I saw Ed Sheeran got COVID. And I was like, what does that even, why does that matter?
Yes. I think maybe it's got something to do with he's about to put out a project or something like that.
Oh, that's true.
That could be
That's true. Does he have some? Oh, he just put out an album, didn't he? And I guess he's a celebrity. He's a great dude. He makes great music. Oh,
Bless you. Yeah.
Sorry there, folks. That's probably the first documented sneeze on the podcast. But yeah, him getting COVID, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. Everyone loves Ed Sheeran. Everyone loves him. Yeah, it would be good if he just couldn't sing anymore or something like that, or he completely lost his voice.
Yeah, or like his balls got massive and he's like, Nicki Minaj was right.
That would be good. It would be good.
He's like, oh no, wait, my balls aren't getting bigger. My penis is just...
I'm getting smaller. Whoa! And you're just like shrinking and he's the size of his balls. Would be interesting.
That's a good bit. Like my
Can we
balls...
go over...
That's a good bit. Like my balls just get really big whenever I look at like women in lingerie or...
I like that idea. Like, imagine if that's just how it worked. Like, when you were attracted or when you were kind of stimulated sexually, your balls just increased.
That would be
like, that's all that happened. Like, I would like a different way to have sex. I think there could be a better option. Like, imagine if your balls just increased, and you had to... What could you do? You had to, like, put them inside... What could you do? Like if there was a different way to make a child, that would be good. And if women just laid eggs. I don't think society would be that advanced if like literally people came from eggs, an actual egg. And then it took like a week for the egg to hatch and then a human came out. Do you think the world would still be the way it is now? Or would be kind of more animalistic? Like murder would still be just a normal thing that people are like, oh yeah, fine. We're animals. People literally lay eggs and you have to wait a week until an egg hatches.
Mm.
Because I do have a vague memory of, what's it called? Like when you are young, you don't understand how babies are made.
Yeah.
Like I think I may have at a point thought that, it was from deep kissing. Like people talked about French kissing rather than normal kissing. And if you French kissed someone, you would make a child. That could potentially be a thing.
True.
And then your balls got really large and then they shrunk and you kind of like, something came out of your mouth inside the woman when you kissed her long enough.
You're like, well, I guess my uncle must be pregnant then.
Yes.
In all honesty, I don't think I was ever... I don't ever remember speaking to any of my friends or my family about like where did children come from. I don't have that memory. I don't ever remember being confused about it or whatever.
Really?
I'm starting to think maybe I was molested.
Just one day you have absolutely no memory of it and you just knew how children were made. Because I always assumed there was like peeing involved.
Which there is.
I think for a long... Which there is. Imagine just, a couple that have like a real solid pee fetish trying to explain to their child how a baby's born. he's like, do you pee on her? Well, yes. Technically, yes. There's a lot of pee involved. There is. And he's like, oh, okay. And the cycle just continues. He has his first girlfriend. He pees all over her. And the dad's like, okay, you do that. And then you blame her for not being able to be free and follow your dreams. And then you cry and you choke her and say, this is your fault.
And then you and then you
have to say a word. You have to have your fingers crossed or something. Or if they find out, you have to like say safety or have your fingers crossed or do like a quick spin around the room, or else your child's gay. That would be a great thing. Just some author. Some scientist. It's just like, yeah, basically you figured out where that gay trait comes from. If the father doesn't cross his fingers as he ejaculates, the child is going to be gay.
I think I just found out a way to like fix like homophobic kind of fathers. You have to be like, well, the only way that a kid will turn out gay is if the father is gay. No. If the father, the kid will only be straight if the father is gay. No, the other way around, right? It's the other way around.
Yeah. No, that's the way. Everyone with a straight son would be gay. And everyone with a gay son would be straight. So you're praying that your child is gay because...
Yes. You've been praying that your child is gay. So
you like try to dress him in dresses. You like try to make him watch RuPaul's Drag Race and be like, yes, queen, say it, please say it. And he's kind of...
the dad's so into it.
There's a whole bunch of it.
The dad's so into it that the son's like, all right, well, this definitely isn't for me.
He's like, Dad, I want to wear skater shorts. I don't want to wear these dresses. And he's like, no son of mine's going to wear skater shorts in my house. We wear dresses and we listen to Whitney Houston.
What about...
That's just how it works.
A dad who just loves his son so much. He's like, okay, well, I've got to leave, son. And he's like, why? And he's like, just know that I love you. And he just like goes and meets a guy in a back alley and has homosexual sex with him. He's like, this is for you. This is for you, Stuart.
Stuart. As the guy's thrusting into him, he's like, Stuart, and he's like crying. Ladies and gentlemen, and the Academy Award for Best Picture goes to, this is for you, Stuart. The whole cast comes up. They're like, thank you. Well, this world we did create actually could be true.
It's almost the perfect solution.
Scariest part of it all.
It's like these scientists have come out.
Honestly.
They've worked out that, if your son is straight.
Yeah, you're straight.
Yes.
And if your son is gay, you're straight. If your son's straight, you are gay.
Yes.
It would be... Because imagine all kind of the really homophobic fathers whose son is gay and they like have abandoned them and don't talk to them.
Yeah.
And just like screaming hell yes. And they all take to the streets and they're like, you too? I knew we were extra straight. I knew this was wrong. And they kind of all band together.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, actually, it works really good on one side, but it kind of reinforces an idea on the other side. Still, it would be interesting to see play out. Like if I was Elon Musk, I'd probably put something in the water to kind of make this happen.
I would. Yeah, imagine if they just know and they're kind of too scared to tell everyone. Because I wonder if there is some sort of correlation.
I think about that all the time, the stuff that people know but they're not allowed to say because it's going to freak everyone out too much.
Oh, completely. Like there's so many things out there that I guess are going to affect money and the way the world works. Like gambling's a huge one. You can only speak out about gambling too much until you completely collapse an economy. Like if they banned horse racing in Australia,
Mhm.
I think the amount of money that the country loses it's terrifying.
Yes. Yeah, I
So you
mean,
kind of have to stop certain things.
even on like a personal level, like I don't know if you do this, but like sometimes you'll do something and then you kind of can't tell someone about it because the reaction will cause too much of a problem than what it's
Yeah,
worth. Like, you know, when you're just like in your bathroom and
of course.
you like masturbate into your housemate's shampoo because it feels great at the time, and then you just jizz straight into the shampoo, but then you're
Yeah.
like, well, I'm not going to tell them, and also they're like halfway through this
Yes.
bottle right now, so I can't just buy another one
Yeah.
and replace it. So you just kind of leave it there,
Yes.
and then they walk around
Yeah.
like,
Because like if you tell her, there's probably going to be some weird sexual thing that she'll bring to court.
yes, yes, and it's totally not worth
That's
it.
probably the weirdest part.
They're
Yeah,
like,
because if you have a guy
walking,
roommate, he's like, that's hilarious.
they're like, I've been walking around like Cameron Diaz for 3 months. Yeah.
They're like, oh, did you, what are you trying to be like Ed Sheeran? Something like that. Something about Ed Sheeran taping his eyes back and there's something there. There's something there, folks. Definitely something there. But I do like it. I do like the way I think they're going to find it out. Probably. I wish it was just a fund. Like, do you know how you go to Grilled or something and you have to kind of put the bottle cap in, like, what is it, Vinnie's or Children's Hospital?
Yeah.
I just wish there was like a research of where being gay comes from. And it's just like money can be invested into it. It's just like a bunch of scientists. And they're just on like documentaries and be like, yeah, no, I'm a professional scientist. I work for where being gay comes from. I've been working there for 10 years. We haven't found any answers yet. Well, they just treat it like a mental illness. I mean, sorry, like a disease. It would be a great idea. But there's just like, yeah, the gay fund. And you just got like Freddie Mercury, Elton John, like on the cover. And be like, we're trying to fix it. Or imagine they like, there is a cure. Like you have aloe vera mixed with like sesame and it's kind of xanthan. There's just a whole bunch of chemicals and they find a cure to it. I wonder how many people would actually take it. It is fascinating.
Well, what's the correlation? I guess there aren't any witches around anymore. They were probably the ones that were brewing up those potions that were keeping everyone.
That's true. That's true. Because I know they've got conversion therapy. And I know like a lot of West African countries are really, really anti-gay. And they're doing kind of, what is it?
Yes.
It's so fascinating the things they do because they kind of come up with cures.
Yes.
And usually it is
like witch doctor kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Be like, have sex with this albino and you'll be great. Imagine there's some doctor in like some village in West Africa and he's actually just found out the cure and it is having sex with an albino child. Like it would be fascinating. You just got like these Hollywood elites that do still want to be bisexual, but they just have no attraction to women and they just really want to get it. So they all kind of start going over to West Africa and having sex with this albino child and come back and like, yeah, no, I went over to Africa, dude. You got to try it out. Me and Simon went over last year. It was amazing. You get like, you stay in a hotel, like it's like a week-long thing. You kind of prepare for it. And then you go down to the village.
That's probably what Epstein was doing at his island.
Ooh. He's
just having all these gay celebrities come over and get the gay out.
If I could do a Bill Clinton impersonation, he's just like, I wanted to get it out of me. I had the devil. I can't do it. But it would be interesting. Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein's just a hero. And he couldn't tell anyone because it was too real and too controversial. If they found out Jeffrey Epstein had a cure to being gay, and that's why he had a whole bunch of people at his island, because it was involving like having sex with an underage girl or a 10-year-old. They had to be under 10.
Do you think there'd be less blowback with the whole Jeffrey Epstein island if it came out that they weren't actually girls? They were young boys.
Ooh. Dang. There would be a big feminist movement, kind of being like, yeah, whatever.
Oh, that was a interesting... Oh, no, actually. No, I don't know enough.
What? Don't know enough about what?
Nah.
We're going to go into it. This is what this podcast is about. We go into things we have absolutely no idea about, and we have strong opinions on it.
What do you know? Margaret Atwood.
No.
She's the author that wrote The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh yes.
So people are coming after her at the moment for being.
What about Jackson Satwood? Sat on wood. I know. Yeah, no, it didn't really work. I had a little bit of time. I had probably 15 seconds to come up with something. That was my best. So she wrote The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, they're coming at her for being there's a word for it, but it means like a feminist that doesn't include trans women in...
Oh, this is the Dave Chappelle one. What is that? Trans radical feminist, I think. Is that it? The one that J.K. Rowling's also in that group?
Yes.
Also, yeah, again, it's like being so... I have a friend who's also that. She's just kind of like, no, they're not women, we're women. And they're belittling what it means to be a woman if any guy can become a woman. And that's where the backlash of Dave Chappelle came from, because he labeled himself as that.
Well, it is very interesting because it's like... Yeah. The reason I didn't really want to talk about it...
Because you're actually a part of this group and you're scared you could legitimately get cancelled.
No, but I mean...
For the audio listeners, Jackson's nodding his head and giving me the thumbs up and then doing the be quiet mouth thing. No, but it's a great debate. I've had this debate with my friend for a long time about this.
Yeah, maybe you tell me about it, because I don't really have a clue. That's why I didn't want to talk about it. I literally saw that. That was like the last little article I kind of like looked into before we jumped into the pod. But
yeah, because my friend, what is it? She had also a lot of opinions about like being gay as a choice as well, for the most part. She had an idea that most people are choosing to be gay. But then at the end, it was that I think it's trans radical feminism. I don't even know if that's the correct term, but she's like, no, I'm a woman. I've suffered through a lot as a woman. They're not actually women. They're, it's almost like they're just dressing up, pretending, but I'm actually something. And I think it goes into the whole idea of like Bruce Jenner winning like Woman of the Year award, the GQ Woman of the Year or something like that. And I don't know. I feel that she thinks that it takes away from women's suffrage and women's rights and how much it takes to actually be a woman. You can't just one day become one. It's something... Yeah, I do find it a bit hard to wrap my head around.
It's
fascinating. But it's in that area.
I mean, I can understand where that argument would kind of come from a lot more than your sexuality being a choice. I don't believe at all. I don't believe at all that sexuality is a choice or what you're attracted to. I mean, you could probably choose to suppress things. I don't think you can choose to want something. You can't force yourself to be attracted to something. But you could... You probably have all this, and
yes, and that's kind of
You can pick out of those things what you want to pursue. But where does the actual?
I think part of that debate is also like sexuality being a spectrum as well. I think that's also part of their debate, being like, it is a spectrum. Some people are completely gay. You've got the bisexual, and you've got people who are semi-bi and then completely straight. Like, it is kind of a spectrum. And I think with that idea of there being a spectrum, kind of promotes the idea there is some choice in this. And I think, there's probably two different arguments, isn't it? There's that, and then I think it's TERF. I'm looking this up now. Anti-trans radical feminists, TERFs. What's that? Trans kids. I'm looking up an article from Vox talking about this. Anti-trans radical feminists. What are they talking about? Oh, here we go. So online roots of the term TERF originated in the late 2000s. It grew out of 1970s radical feminist circles. Okay. It's like there needed to be a term to separate radical feminists who support trans women and those who don't. And they're saying what many anti-trans feminists today claim it's a slur, despite what many see as an accurate description of their beliefs. They now gender critical. Interesting. Gender critical. So they're kind of like criticizing it. And they also think it's a slur to them. So if you call a woman, I guess I'm just trying to take from this, calling them a TERF is a slur to their beliefs. Okay, what else does this one say? Gender critical threatened violence against trans women who dare to exist in women's and lesbian spaces. Okay. So they don't want trans people in their space. It's kind of like, hey, we've got like a women's club, we're speaking on women's issues, and then there's a trans person there. They don't want them there. It's like, this is just for women.
That's very interesting. Because, I mean, if we can speak completely based right now.
Yes.
It's a situation where it's like, we have to discuss our bodies, kind of, and then the consequences of society's reaction to our anatomy, being that of which it is and being different.
Yes.
Our male counterparts.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And it does get to this point. I think I heard a thing like airports or something like that. Instead of saying what gender you are, I think it's like, what gender were you at birth? Like that. And it's kind of in that area where it's like, oh, were you born with a penis or a vagina? What were you born with?
Yeah.
And it's tricky because you're kind of in that area that a trans woman was born with male genitalia. However, they are now a woman. And I feel these TERFs have an issue with this woman being born with male genitalia. And I think because you're born with male genitalia, you can't be in our group. You're not us.
Well, what do you
It's
think?
a very, very interesting discussion.
I mean, I feel like it's fair enough.
Okay, no, go, preach. You
I mean,
understand where they're coming from.
yeah, I understand where it would be like Noah speaking about what it's. My understanding of feminism is about femininity, not females or women.
Yeah,
So that's one thing. If we're going to talk about liberating femininity in a society, I'm also not a woman because I wasn't
yeah.
born one and can't become one. No. No. um,
And if I did, I would be lying to myself, and I would probably have a mental illness.
so
But
I think
Jackson said that, people. Jackson said that, by the way. That was a bit interesting. You said that.
if you want to get together with people of your same experience and everything, and that's a discussion that you want to have, that's fine. Yeah. And then if you also want to be in this other group where you can discuss issues for this other group of people, that's also fine. Like both those things are fine. I don't think it doesn't sound like it comes from a place of hate. It's like necessity. It's like, no, I'm speaking on behalf of me and these other people who have that same shared experience. And then there's this other group and they have a different experience. And there are things that overlap, and it's like we can talk about things that overlap, or I can just talk about these things that I experience and people that have gone through the same thing. So I really don't know enough. I am just talking out my ass, but
no, but it's actually it's a conversation at the end of the day, and this is kind of your ideas and your viewpoints on the conversation. Because again, this isn't a real minority group. I feel a lot of people would identify as TERFs, like a lot more people than you probably expect. I guess the only real debate I have that at its essence, it basically is saying trans people aren't women, even though I guess you have someone that's just like being a gay person where it's like, hey, I was born, I knew this my whole life. I knew there was something that went on, and I've just been a woman my whole life. When I finally did the surgery, it felt right. When I finally started being able to embrace who I truly am, it felt right. This is something I've known my whole life. And this is kind of where I have the other argument against being gay being a choice. I guess you have a lot of people that are like, yeah, I knew at birth. And even myself, like I remember being in primary school and being like, looking back and be like, no, that kid was obviously gay. He had a really, really feminine voice, hung out with girls.
You were looking in the mirror.
And then I realized I was looking at old photos of myself when I was in primary school. But you know that kid who's just been gay his whole life. You know he didn't have any choice in that matter. As soon as he could speak, he was like, yes. I remember there was a kid that called everyone babe. It's like, okay, babe. And he was like, I think he would have been in year 1 or kindergarten. And I knew this kid came from like a good family. Nothing really traumatic happened to him, but he's just is who he was. And same with being trans. It's like, yeah, she just wore boys' clothes. She liked having a masculine haircut. She was this person who was, let's say, born a woman was just a guy. And this guy who was born with male genitalia, his whole life he knew it. And then when he finally kind of felt he could come out, he felt completely secure. And it's like, yeah, no, this is who I am. And I guess you've got this person and they're like, no, I'm a woman. I know I've been a woman since birth, but I can't get into this room full of women because they're saying that I'm not a woman. And it does become this kind of awkward area of you're not a woman. Well, yes, I am.
That completely checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think for most regular people that can be compassionate and everything like that, I think they have that same point of view that people just should do what they need to do to feel comfortable in their own skin. And I almost feel like that should be like a basic human right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that should be everyone's base thing. But the other part of it is like, say there was like a help group for people that were victims of sexual abuse.
Yes.
And they're all in this circle saying, yeah, I'm a victim of sexual abuse, da 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 da. And they're talking about these things that are explicit and painful and mean a lot to them.
Of course.
And then the person goes to stand up and says, hey, yeah, I'm a gambling addict, da 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 da. They're like, oh, sorry, that actually isn't this group. That's the group next door.
Yeah, it's good you actually use that example, because again, my friend who has his beliefs as well, she's like, I've had such an issue from a young age of kind of men looking at me in a certain way, going on buses, and men doing certain things to me, and having all these very, very specific experiences as a woman. Yeah. And she's like, a trans woman would never be able to understand that. But I guess if a trans person was, wearing or letting their hair grow and kind of embracing themselves from a young age, they would experience those same things that a woman would. They would kind of, kind of be stared at by men and kind of maybe even like sexually assaulted by black people. But at the end, they would have been killed instead of being left.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only difference.
I guess the thing is, you've got... if you were to look at that meeting, it's like looking at that like a meeting where they're all like a feminism meeting. These women speaking about like their experience with sexual objectification and everything. And then this one chick gets up who's literally a 2, and she's like, oh yeah, it's the worst. I hate that. And then you've got this trans woman who gets up who is like...
like a 9, a 9.5 or a 10.
Yes. Gets up and speaks, and it's like, yeah, I've had that because I transitioned when I was, 14 or 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they've always had like that feminine physique. Yeah. And also having that where I was like that person probably has more in common with that group than that group.
I love the idea of like excluding all women that are under a 5 from...
It's like, no, you didn't, Becky.
No, you didn't. Rachel, men have not wanted to do anything with you. Maybe throw up when they've seen you on a bus. They've never wanted to approach you or make unwanted sexual advances. But that could be a good agenda. We're like we're inclusive to trans people as long as they're attractive, as long as they're passing. But we're basically like over 5 radical feminists. If a woman is over a 5, she's in that group. If she falls under it, sorry, you're not a woman. You're still a woman, but you're not part of our group. You haven't experienced what it's like to be an attractive woman. It's basically the same thing.
I mean, if you were to look at like a group of like addicts, for instance, and these people would kind of go and they're going to speak to someone who's an ex-addict who hasn't touched or done their substance or whatever for like 15 years. And they're like a senior in that field to kind of give you some kind of guidance or whatever. And then, so you set up this thing, you're a woman who has experienced all this, you're like 60 years old, and now there are young women coming up, you've been passionate about it your whole life, women's issues that relate to your body and things that women go through. Yeah. And then there's this young like trans woman in there, It was
They're
like,
talking about periods, and the trans woman's like, no, it hurts. Mood swings like crazy. And she's like, are you sure? Yeah. It's crazy. Oh, it hurts, yeah. Feels like being strangled. I'm like, no, I don't think it does. It's kind of like I'm getting a really strong massage.
it's kind of like when you get hit in the nuts. I mean,
but yeah, it's a tricky. Wait, so in this example, what you've got the 60-year-old woman.
yeah, and then there's like a young trans woman who's sitting in there, and they're like, I don't know. It's a different thing. There is overlap, but the thing is that overlap could apply for men as well. You know what I mean? Like biological men, like me.
Yeah.
Like there's like sexual objectification. That's one thing that we're going to talk about during this meeting.
That we do, and we can't help it. And the way and the way it should be allowed. But just, I guess, just being a guy and the things we go through.
No, yeah, well, I'm just saying, women, in this meeting, we're going to talk about sexual objectification and what that kind of does to women.
Imagine there's just like a trans man who was born a woman, and it's just like a men's group where they're still talking, and we're just talking about the way we kind of actually think about women. And like a woman comes in, he's like, oh, sorry, I think I must be in the next room. Okay, I'll see you guys later. And then all the guys literally talk about the things they would do to her. And then it comes to the trans woman and is like, you guys are joking, right? You wouldn't actually rip her clothes off and throw her into the sink and... but it is, it's a tricky one.
But yeah, what I'm saying is like a boy going and sitting in one of those meetings and going like, yeah, sexual objectification and everything like that. And again, it's just like, oh no, sorry, that meeting is in the next room. You want to go to those people and speak about it with them.
I kind of get where you're coming from, but I think it basically does exclude them. The fact they're not allowed in the room, I think, is an issue. Mm-hmm. And like, I guess if we were having that conversation, I guess just being a guy and there was a man in there that had the genitalia of a woman at birth, and we're talking about the way we objectify women and they're falling a bit short, I wouldn't even really question it, because I feel it's such a spectrum to being a man, and there's such a spectrum to being a woman. And it's that same idea that you even talk about, like you have asexual men and you have women who are extremely unattractive, and you have women that have kind of, let's say, been sheltered and lived a very particular life. And I feel that no one should really be excluded from the group unless you're going into that area where it's like, hey, we're having a meeting for women who are over sevens and have had very, very particular life experiences that we can all share and all come together with. Because I feel in any of those women's groups, you're going to have a woman who probably isn't that attractive. You're going to have a woman that hasn't really been out that much, has kind of lived a more sheltered life, and then someone who live really traumatic lives. And I just feel that it varies so much that you shouldn't really be like, hey, no, you can't join us because you don't know what it's like. When they do, to an extent.
I think that, well, I mean, yeah, I don't, if, obviously the nicest thing to do would be to be as inclusive as possible.
I think even beyond being nice, I think it's almost like a necessity for like progression, where it's like,
right.
Sorry?
Or just for society, that's kind of a necessity.
Yeah, for society. I even think I wouldn't even want to be in the room and be like, no, just let him in. It's fine. Let's just let him in. He's one of us, okay? I would like to see a place where it's like, oh, of course, there's not even a question. Like a trans man comes in and say, hey, John, what's good? Yeah, we're starting in a second. Yeah, hey, what's good, Gary? The next guy comes in. I do feel that that's the future that we need to see. I feel that's necessary for progression in a society. I do feel that, let's say in 20 years, there's a women's meeting going on and trans women have to be like, oh, wait, is this include trans? It's like, no, sorry. We're not doing that one today. That's tomorrow. I feel that shouldn't really ever exist. I feel that's something that we're basically going to progress beyond those sorts of ideas. And the idea of a TERF would kind of be an old-fashioned thing. I get it. But again, this is just my take. It's my take. And I'm open for the discussion.
Yeah, I definitely... I mean, I do see where you're coming from, but it does discount these people's experience. That's the issue. It's like, no, we're talking about women's issues here. It's like, I'm a woman, don't discount my experience.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I mean, like, you're a transgender woman, don't discount my experience as being a biological woman. So it's kind of like this stalemate there. And that's why I would use the word like nice. That's why I said that, or like kind. That's the kind thing to do, is to kind of be able to kind of swallow your own problems and just be like, it's like looking past your own experience in your own life. Just being like, well, I've been discriminated against for being a woman my whole life, but looking to the future, the best kind of thing we could do is to be more inclusive. But at the same time, I can't hold it against these people for not doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you said, you do reach this stalemate of who's basically going to miss out. Is it the woman that's the biological woman who isn't having her experience taken seriously, or the trans woman who isn't having their experience taken seriously? And you kind of have to weigh those two up.
Here's the thing. It's like, so like another metaphor, say you and I and maybe like another 3 friends, and then we had a friend who we walked out of the room and came back in and they had like overdosed or something like that, right? So we're all united in that, the 5 of us.
Yes.
It's something we share. It's an experience that we had together. And then we could go to meetings where other people had stuff happen to, where they, like, trauma and grief kind of meetings, or situations where they
from watching someone overdose.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's not being excluding to be like, all right, so we just want to hang out with the 5 of us and kind of reflect on that thing a year after it happened or something like that. And then it's not like, well, I had better call up everyone else who has had something like this happen.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah,
because it's like paying respect. It's not like dealing with it actual issue, but yeah. I mean, maybe we should move on from this, but I think
we're staying on this. no, we will move on. But again, just even to that one, I do think you go back to this idea that you are going to have in this woman's group, you're going to have a woman that hasn't been catcalled. You're going to have a woman that hasn't had da-da-da-da-da. And you most likely, a trans woman is going to have a certain amount of these same things. Because as soon as you become a woman, you kind of enter that world. You enter that world to an extent. And I feel a trans woman is going to kind of feel what it's like to be a woman pretty quick. It's like if we both went and did some gender surgery, and we got huge breasts, and we kind of got like lengthened our hair and kind of made ourselves up, we would kind of know how it felt to be a woman for a night. And we would be like, even though it could potentially just be one night, we could potentially go to that meeting and be like, yeah, I was crazy, that was one night. And then one of the girls would be like, yeah, well, I've been doing it my whole life. And you could kind of be like, okay, women can only go to this meeting if they've been out to the town, or out late at night. Because I feel you're going to have a lot of women in these groups that are like, I only kind of go to coffee shops during the day. And I live in a suburb where I don't really experience much abuse or many kind of glaring looks or anything like that from men.
Mm.
And I just feel that it can really be tossed up. And I think, again, even to one of the best points I heard was the idea of women under 5 who are under 5s are going to have a completely different experience than women who are quite attractive. And are those women under 5 not women? Are you only a woman if you're sexually attractive? Right. And that's actually one of the best arguments that you actually said for the case of being anti-TERF. It'd be like, okay, that's fine. I think it's all good to not include trans women, but we're not including women who are under 5s. That's also what we're doing. They can go to the next meeting because they're not actually women. And that's discounting the experience that us attractive women have.
I think it's crazy. Like, even now, it just keeps flicking back and forth between my mind. Like, I understand it more than I agree with it, because I can't agree with it because I'm not in that situation. I'm not a woman.
Yeah. Mm.
And I can never be. No.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm not a woman, and I can't speak for their issues or what they decide is okay or not. And also, like, I think I've probably spoken about it to you a million times, but like, The Handmaid's Tale is so good because it's just like an exaggeration of kind of so much of what's going on and kind of these problems that women face. And a lot of it does come down basically to like reproductive systems and stuff like that. And then there's like inbuilt stuff and everything. There's just a lot to it.
It's good. Yeah.
There's so much to it. I understand it. So if this person was like, no, I don't want to, when I'm preaching to this group. Yeah. And if these people are going to get angry about it, then that's fine. And I mean, these people who, like, Margaret Atwood's like... What do you mean by these people? Yeah. Margaret Atwood's like 80, so she's been a feminist for...
She's also an old hag that's out of touch with the modern world. I do have to say that. True. But I do actually want to have my friend on, and this might be a good excuse to have her on to actually talk about. I do want to have a solid debate. Because again, I've had this debate like a million times with her. I think it's a debate I can have a million times. I would actually love to have someone who's maybe even a trans person come on the show. Me and the trans person will state our case, and then you and the TERF will state your case. I think it'd be a very good discussion to have. I think it'd be a fascinating... And again, it would go for 2 hours. So I do hopefully in a few weeks, we can organize something like this. It's a very, very important and a very... it's a hot topic right now, especially after the whole Dave Chappelle thing. Because that's basically what people are mad about. And I keep thinking, like, what are they mad about? Didn't he say all this? And then when I realized he said he was a TERF, I'm like, oh, okay, I get that. I get why they're mad a little bit more. And I can kind of... It's like Zionists. I can understand when Dave Chappelle's making like anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish jokes, I can understand why a Zionist would be offended. It's like, oh, okay, I get that. But I don't really understand Zionism. However, I do understand people who are anti-TERF. But speaking on that, Timothy Chalamet, I want to make a list of how many women, comparing him to other women, who would you have sex with first? Timothy Chalamet or X, Y, da. So I want you to look him up. And this is also right on this topic. can Timothy Chalamet attend these meetings? Because he's probably more attractive than most women.
Timothy Chalamet, is that it?
Chalamet.
Because I'm looking at a pretty attractive Chalamet right now.
I actually want to look up Timothy Chalamet. Oh, here we go. Timothy Chalamet. Who is this? Oh, no, that's him. That's Timothy Chalamet that comes up. I think you can type it in anyway. So basically, you're in a room. You have to have sex with one. Oprah. Actually, no, not Oprah. Let's think of a good one. How about Susan Boyle or Timothy Chalamet? I'm just going to type in unattractive women.
I'm going to have to give it to Tim on this round.
You're going to give it to Tim.
I'm going to have to give it to Tim.
He beats... Here we go. So you would have... Jackson is putting his vote. He'd rather have sex with Timothy Chalamet than Susan Boyle. Okay, who else have we got here? Ugly female. Okay, Whoopi Goldberg or Timothy Chalamet. We found... there's an IMDb list of ugly female celebs. I love this. I didn't realize IMDb were legends. Oh, wow, there's literally a rating. Whoopi Goldberg's number one. Rosie O'Donnell. This is wild that this exists. This is probably from the early 2000s and no, created March 2020. Okay. This is amazing. Okay, Kathy Griffin or Timothy Chalamet? Again, we can do some Googling just to make sure you've got an updated photo. We're talking about them in 2020.
I got to see some body right now. I got to see Timothy's body. I'm not seeing any.
And then we've got, let's see, he's got a very kind of twinky sort of body. Very skinny. He's kind of built like what's he built? Kind of like an Asian woman.
I mean, it's tricky.
Lena Dunham.
It's tricky because
Lena Dunham or Timothy Chalamet.
This guy's a dude.
Yeah.
Which makes...
And this goes into the idea. Does Timothy Chalamet have more of a feminine experience than Lena Dunham?
No.
Okay. What about Whoopi Goldberg? Oh, actually, sorry, Susan Boyle. If you literally, it's like there's a security guard at this door of this meeting, and we're only letting in people who have had a feminine experience. There's two that come in. There's only room for one left. Timothy Chalamet and Susan Boyle are at the door. Who's had more of a feminine experience?
Susan Boyle, because if you're going to just being you're going to suffer the consequences of ideals placed against you. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
With Susan Boyle, you're not beautiful. So
yeah,
a lot of people, they're going to disregard you. You're not going to be able to sit with the popular girls. You're not going to get like this amazing husband or anything. Your social value is going to be lessened because of the way you look, because of your gender. Whereas if you're an unattractive man, you have a lot better of a chance.
Man, okay.
And then you have...
How about the idea?
Then you have this attractive man, and then it's like... Yes, but how advantage being a male right now than an unattractive woman?
How come most men want to have sex with him, though? Would that make him... Isn't that a very normal female thing? Men wanting to have sex with you? Okay, so we continue. Rachel Dratch. Rachel Dratch. This is a good one. Again, for people listening, you can play this game and be like, hey, have a photo of both. Who are you having sex with first?
Another thing is we're going to be doing this game every week.
Until Jackson changes his mind. Yeah, Rachel Dratch, folks.
He's not that. I gotta watch him like in a video or something like that. Like
Oh, you don't think he's attractive?
He's
so
fine.
Jackson's both a TERF and he's also homophobic. He wouldn't have sex with a man. Okay, we got Rachel Dratch up. What are your thoughts? And again, for everyone, I would choose Timothy Chalamet over these because I'm kind of going through the list and picking. Rachel Dratch comes up to you. You're at a bar.
Tricky for you. Is there any actually like attractive women?
Okay, let's have a think. Glenn Close. Look up Glenn Close. Very famous, quite masculine. She kind of looks like Robin Williams if he became trans.
Oh, goodness.
That's what I would say. Should Glenn Close be forbidden from female issues meetings? Okay, who else have we got on this list? We have Rhea Perlman. That's another good one. Again, I'd probably have to go with Timothy there.
Oh my God. Rhea Perlman looks like Howard Stern.
Yeah, that's a good one. She actually does look a lot like.
Oh, that's Danny DeVito.
Oh, here we go. Here's a great one.
Yep.
Oh, Danny DeVito married her, did he?
Yes.
Here we go. Tilda Swinton.
Oh yeah, right. Well, that gets tricky because she's a woman.
She looks just like Timothy Chalamet. Maybe if she was a guy, she would have a very different experience.
What about Timothy Chalamet or Elliot Page?
Oh, okay. Oh, I'd probably go Timothy Chalamet. He's just quite striking. It's quite basically this whole bit is just basically saying I would like to have sex with Timothy Chalamet.
This whole bit. That's why you're lowballing it as well.
And it's like, okay, you can have sex with Rihanna or Timothy Chalamet. Who are you picking? But yeah, folks, that was a fun little bit. What else have we got on the list? Anything you want to talk?
Actually, did you hear about the earliest known recording of rock band Led Zeppelin has just come to light? It's from 1968. But unfortunately, they're not playing instruments in the recording. It's just audio of them having sex with 15-year-old girls.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
That's a good one. I like it. That's pretty good.
What about world's first animal to human transplant was successfully performed? They successfully transplanted a mouse penis instead of my penis, and I've noticed a significant improvement in size.
Okay, that's good. Good news bits here. What about that sort of joke? I do like that idea. I think we've heard it on another podcast. That idea of an animal to human, and then at the end you're like, because I'm an animal in the bedroom. Actually that's right. My wife likes to perform bestiality when we have sex.
Are you doing my joke right now? Is
this your joke? This is actually your joke. I don't even because I'm an animal in the bedroom.
Yeah, what is it? I've been described as an animal in the bedroom, a cheetah.
Oh no, that's a very different joke. That's a very different joke.
Yeah, I feel like
I think there's something there. What is it? It's like, my wife's really into bestiality. Because because when she has sex with me, I'm an animal in the bedroom. It's a good bit, folks. It's a good bit. I'm literally going to use that for the listeners on Thursday at Crown Comedy.
What about
that's going to be my opener?
Australia is gearing up to inject 400 koalas with the chlamydia vaccine as protection from the STI.
Okay.
I guess I'm going to be having sex with 400 koalas this weekend.
Okay, nice. That's a good one, folks. Did you see Avi Yemeni interrupting people in Melbourne?
What is it?
See that? Do you know Avi Yemeni?
No.
That probably wouldn't work too well. What else is going on? Oh, yeah. What is it? Lil Nas X was trolling Boosie. That was a pretty interesting one.
Ooh, that was
He
crazy.
said they were going to do a song together. That was great. People were wilding out.
And Lil Boosie did like hashtag F word or something.
Yes.
Which is...
I wonder if Boosie identifies as a TERF.
It's a hilarious thing to hashtag.
I wonder what Boosie thinks about trans people.
Not a lot, I would imagine.
Not a lot, we'd probably imagine. Let's just say Jackson and Boosie have a lot in common. They both appear to be African when they are at parties.
Why?
Because Jackson does blackface. There's something there.
Right.
There's a way to get there through the maze. But yeah, it was an interesting one. And it does get to that point of trolling. And I think Lil Nas X was hoping for that. That probably would have been the best possible response.
Yeah, because he's made this look really homophobic. And
again, you do have this idea where someone who's so homophobic, it's like very, very obvious that they're hiding something, that they're running away from something that's within inside themselves. Like, I know that's the classic bit, like, oh yeah, Boosie's probably gay, the way he's kind of so obsessed with this gay rapper. I think it's actually very true.
Right.
I feel anyone who's really homophobic is actually probably just closeted and scared.
I'm not closeted.
I know that's what we're trying to get to, folks. Jackson is. Yeah, it's interesting.
It is. It is interesting. It's insane to think about how aggressive he's come back.
Yeah. Like it's perfect. It's so much energy behind it. I think it was in all caps. He's really taking his time to he's really thinking about it. It's very kind of in the moment. He's a perfect bullying victim. But you do have this idea, like Boosie was in jail for like 15 years. Well, you basically can't be gay.
Yeah.
So you kind of understand where he's coming from. Do you have a right to be homophobic if you come from jail? If you've been in jail for 10 years?
You have a right to do whatever you want, but you shouldn't.
Like I do like that idea where it's like, hey, if you send me to jail, I'm going to come out homophobic. I'm just letting you know that. If I don't go to jail and I just have to do community service, I'm going to be fine and accepting of gay people. But if you put me in even for a day, I'm going to come out and I'm going to use the F word.
It's not cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you have the right to kind of do this or that. You can. But then it's just like, people aren't going to... Your audience is going to fuck with you or not, depending on the things you do and say.
That's true.
You know,
and a lot of people did defend Boosie. Like, he got a lot of retweets. At the end of the day, a lot of people are like, yeah, no, it's true. We agree with him.
But having said that, I mean, I do say that you can do what you want, but yeah, it's fucked. It is fucked up when you think about the people that's gonna kind of offend for them living their life.
That's true. But then I guess his life was affected by being in prison.
Yeah, but why did he go to prison? That's his fault.
That's true. Imagine if he went to prison for being homophobic. And it's a cycle that's never
If you
ending.
go to prison for being homophobic, just lock me up now, officer.
Judge, take me away. Folks, if being homophobic is now a crime, then guilty. Guilty. But how are we going time-wise?
Yeah, I think we'd be there.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, yeah, Alec Baldwin shot a woman.
I had that. I can't believe we haven't spoken about that yet.
I know we haven't spoken about that one yet. Again, I didn't have any comments for this, so this is all off the top. Alec Baldwin shooting a woman. Let's think.
The funniest thing about it that I saw was that someone on set said that gun safety has been a consistent issue.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure like 3 times or something like that before this one happened that they actually put real bullets into what should have been blanks.
Is that what it actually is? So he shot a woman. It was meant to be a blank bullet, but they put in a real one.
I don't even understand how it could have happened because she wasn't an actor. She's not in the scene. So he's just like got this gun that he knows has had real bullets in it 3 times, and he just points it at this woman who's not even in the screen and fires.
Imagine. Let's try to defend Alec Baldwin though. What could have the woman done? That's the real question. What if we found out that the woman was homophobic to one of his co-stars?
She's like, I don't think Lil Boosie was right.
And she had something to say about Lil Boosie. Alec Baldwin being kind of a pretty cool dude. It's like, hey, I've got this gun. And he's just like with a friend, he's like, hey, how much would you give me if I shot this truck? It's probably got nothing in it, but wouldn't this be hilarious if it actually did and I killed a woman? Oh, and again, I wonder what's going to happen. I would like to imagine people would kind of do pranks on Alec Baldwin, like when they see him, they kind of like fire cap guns or something like that. Be a fun little bit.
What about going out? Halloween is Alec Baldwin.
Okay, that's actually genius. Because I think for anyone that's listening, if you want to win Halloween and go viral, I think I may have talked about this on the podcast, but the best Halloween costume in Australia would be the guy who punched the horse at Town Hall. If you dress up like that guy and have like a horse head on your fist, you would win Halloween. That's the best possible costume you could wear.
That's pretty good.
And I think Alec Baldwin would probably compete against it. You could be dressed up as Alec Baldwin with a gun, with like a smoking gun, kind of have like steam coming from your gun. Would be another fun little... Yeah. Do you do Halloween? Do you go to parties where you actually dress up?
It's really weird. People always think I'm getting ready for a Halloween party. They're like, hey, who are you going as? Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, that's what they also say when Jackson lets people know his opinions on trans people. They're like, oh, he's Dave Chappelle. That could be a good one. You just go to like a Halloween party and just kind of start the conversations about the case for TERF women. And then, because everyone's trying to guess who you are, you just dress normally. And it's like, oh, he's Dave Chappelle. That explains the blackface. Okay,
it's the funniest thing in the world. The way you just said that, like, starts the conversation for that. You know what I mean? Normally, it's like things are as they are. And you have to start the conversation for positive change.
Yeah.
What about just going around and starting conversations for stuff like that? Like, hey, I think it's really time we start supporting these TERFs women who don't want a bar of transgender people.
It's great. It's actually a really good one. Yeah, it kind of ties in with that whole...
I do want to say this.
Yeah.
Just like on that whole thing, I'm pretty sure when you read out the definition or whatever, you were saying it started as... It didn't start as like a... It didn't have connotations to it originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense for it to be like, no, it's just... You can... We're going to talk about this one thing, and then we can talk about your thing with all of us. And then
I've got nothing.
And then we can talk about the next group all together, and then like it's like intersectionality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? What are you smiling about?
Oh no. I think you're just lagging a little bit. I'm getting you, but you're talking a bit later. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about your thing and then we'll talk about something else later. But we're talking about this thing right now. Almost like you could probably do a similar like Black Lives Matter debate. Where it's like, no, all lives matter. It's like, yeah, we're talking about Black lives right now.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Does that not make sense?
But I guess what would happen is people who identify as Black would also be able to join that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel if what's her name? That, what's she called? NAACP. She's that famous kind of woman that was transracial. What's her name? She was in the paper nonstop. I'm probably gonna remember it before I finish. Rachel Dolezal.
Right.
Yeah. She's like a woman who identifies as Black.
Okay.
And she has kind of no Black ancestry at all, but she identifies as a Black woman.
Right.
A lot of people kind of criticize Rachel Dolezal, but then again, maybe it's like, I would be like, yeah, fine. If you identify as a Black person and if you're willing and if you kind of look visually Black and you've got kind of the hair and you've done all the makeup and everything, you may as well just join us. You may as well. Like, I'm fine to have those people in the groups. Like, if I went to a Black people meeting and Rachel Dolezal was there, I'd be like, fine. She actually cares. She identifies. She's committing to this thing. Like, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Of course.
And that's kind of why I'm still funny about it. And I love the debate. And I'm looking forward to when we do the proper person. I mean, sorry, the proper official debate of the TERF argument, where we have a trans person and a TERF and us.
I was just thinking that woman, like, her identifying as a Black woman, I have no problem with that at all, unless she was born a man. That's a pretty good bit. I might write that down, actually.
That's actually a really good bit. Dang. That's actually a really good thing to bring to stage.
I think being you can't really, and you know what would be more annoying? It's like with like Black Lives Matter, and then it's like all lives matter. It's so apparent what Black Lives Matter is.
The only difference is you're not having actual men saying, no, all genders matter at a women's event. Am I still coming through?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're literally having a person saying, no, I agree, Black Lives Matter. I'm also black.
Yes.
I've been black my whole life. Like, they're not really speaking out against what you're doing. They're with you and they're supporting you. They just so happen to have no ancestry that is African.
So what if they called it like a biological women's meeting?
And again, that becomes kind of, it's excluding people.
Yeah,
That's where it becomes a bit of a problem.
It's excluding everyone that isn't a biological woman, which is the purpose of the meeting.
But I guess, and it does go straight back to the trans debate. Like, should trans people be accepted as actual women? And I feel like they should. Just like gay people. Should they kind of be told that it isn't a choice, that they were born this way? And you have a lot of people at the end of the day be like, no, it's a choice. It's a choice. You have a choice to be gay. And they say, no, I don't have a choice. If I had a choice, I would be having sex with women. But I can't help it. I just am gay. Same with trans people. It's like, I don't want to be trans. It's just how I was born. Like, is that something real? And they're just like, I just want to be accepted. That's all I want.
Here's the point that I was going to make before when it comes to like being a trans, well, being like saying Black Lives Matter and then saying all lives matter.
Yeah.
And it's so apparently wrong. We know the problem with saying all lives matter.
Yeah.
They do. That is a fact, but we're not talking about that right now.
I do. You've got that idea though, but like, I guess the answer to is like, if someone's saying, oh, breast cancer matters, it's like, no, all cancer matters. It's different if someone's saying, no, breast cancer does matter. Like, yeah, I'm with you. And it's like, but you don't have it. It's a tricky one. But I feel trans women are part of the team. They're not wanting to go against what you're doing. They completely agree with you. I guess when you've got, you probably could use that Black Lives Matter analogy in it. I guess you have Black Lives Matter, then all lives matter, I guess automatically is going against the real issue at hand.
Exactly. And that's really what it is. And it's also like, if you're like Black Lives Matter, no, all lives matter. And it's like, yeah, they do, but you're kind of treading on this thing that we've got going on. Then it's like being like, oh yeah, we're here to talk about like biological women's issues right now. And then it's like, oh yeah, I'm a woman as well. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you are a woman, but we're speaking about a particular thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess the only thing would be is, like, let's say it's not really an all lives matter thing. I guess it's more of Rachel Dolezal saying, yeah, Black Lives Matter. And it's like, no, you're not black. You don't understand what it's like to actually be a black woman. And she's like, no, I've been black my whole life. And she probably will face certain kind of discrimination and experience certain things in her time being a black woman. That's kind of where I can understand Rachel Dolezal getting and being a part of the movement. Because when you kind of flip that switch, and it's like, no, I'm a black woman, I'm a black person, I've always been this my whole life, you can basically join the club to an extent. You're part of that club. And it's like a woman, like a trans woman who actually looks like a woman, looks more feminine than most women, should have some sort of a say in women's rights issues and should be able to attend these meetings talking about their experiences.
I guess, yeah, my whole issue with not just being like, yeah, that should be the case is trying to
You're an ultra feminist.
balance the if there's two individuals, it's like, how do we give them both what they want? You know?
I guess.
And it's like, this person wants a seat at this table, this other person
Yeah.
doesn't want them at that table, and then we have to respect both their points of view.
But I guess one person is saying that another person's experience isn't real. But I guess that does go both ways, but not necessarily. One person's saying another person's experience isn't real. The other person is saying, no, your experience is real. The trans person isn't saying to the woman, no, your experience as a woman isn't real. They're just saying, I'm also a woman. The woman is saying to the trans person, no, your experience isn't real. So it's not really like a even playing field there. One person's trying to say, no, you're not real. The other person's saying, yeah, you're real. I want to also join and help you. I guess that's kind of what I decipher.
Well, I mean, the other thing is like, so I'm in this group and I've been oppressed by the opposite sex my whole life, and I really need to fight for it. And I like read these books and everything, the history of it. Women have kind of always been oppressed by men.
Yeah. And
then you have people who you don't identify. They're not, I guess what they're guilty of maybe is not opening their hearts enough and being like, we have to be more accepting of this group of people. But I don't
even know if it's a hearts thing. It's more of like a practical thing where it's like, if someone is visually a woman, society would see them as a woman. They identify as a woman. They claim that they've been a woman their whole life. Are they a woman? It does become that at the end of the day.
Well, you got Caitlyn Jenner. I can understand people being mad about Caitlyn Jenner getting Woman of the Year award.
Yes, because I guess, the Caitlyn Jenner's an issue one, because like Caitlyn Jenner was this male Olympian who had a family, had a wife, had kids, was rich, successful, on the Wheaties boxes, had a whole career as a man, and then decided to switch. Right. And I guess those women would be like, you can't have a whole life as a man and then start joining us. But I guess it's very similar to this idea of gay being a choice, where it's like, I guess you would have an example of someone who's just been a woman their whole life and they just came out because they felt accepted and they could. Mm-hmm. Bruce Jenner didn't come out because he was like, that's just impossible to do. It's not something you can do. And it's just like gay men kind of having families and having kids and let's say 3 different wives. And then at the age of 60 being like, I was gay all along. Right. Or even Jay-Z's mother. Like, I don't even know how old she is. Jay-Z probably 70 years old. So his mother was probably like 115 years old. And she's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. The world's oldest lesbian. Like, is she discounted from lesbian meetings because she had a husband?
Right.
And lived a whole life as a straight woman, but all along she actually was.
That's part of the systemic oppression. She's like a great candidate.
Yeah. And I guess it probably is a different thing. It's a great debate. Again, I'm a big fan of this conversation to be had because I think it's necessary. It's very, very necessary right now. And I think this is why the whole Dave Chappelle thing is going on and on and on, because people don't really know what to think of it. Yeah. Because I feel it's such a divisive topic. And again, I feel if you honestly did like a poll, even it's a divisive topic to the left. Because you've got most people on the left are just radical feminists, And then you have another part of kind of like, yeah, we're feminists, but also really pro-trans. And you can't be on both sides. It's like the whole people who who are like really pro-Islam and pro being Muslim rights, and are also pro-gay rights. When one, like the average Muslim person would stone a gay person to death if they could, or just say they're not real. You can't kind of be bigging up both groups. I guess there becomes this similarity in the TERF argument.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you can't be a feminist and pro-trans. It doesn't work because one goes against the other. You can't be gay because it goes against Islam. You can't be pro-Islam because it goes against being gay.
Yes. Yeah.
But I do feel like, even kind of breaking all that down, I feel you can be a feminist and also be pro-trans if you just allow these people in. Because at the end of the day, like, these people aren't trying to tear down the cause. Like, let's say there's no, like, if you're a Muslim and you're also pro-gay, one person saying, no, that can't exist. But I guess being gay, you're kind of saying, no, Islam can't exist because I have this way of living and it goes against a religion at the end of the day. But with trans people, they're saying, yeah, no, I love feminism. It should definitely exist. It's a real issue. And I'm here and I'm fighting for it.
Yeah.
But then with the TERF side, you've got, on the TERF side, it's saying, yeah, I'm a feminist. No, you're not one of us. I just feel it's not even. This debate isn't really even. There's one side that's pro-feminist, or there's one side that's pro the other side, and the other side's anti the other side. That's why even with the whole Israel and Palestine argument, it's very easy when it's like, how come there's not, let's say you've got the Zionists. How come there's so many Jewish people from Israel who are pro-Palestine? It's like a really common thing. And how come there's not one documented Palestinian who's pro-Israel and pro-Zionist?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and that should be enough to be like, okay, that's where the issue is. When on one side, there's no supporters of the other, and on the other side, there's a lot of supporters of the other side. And that's the same with, to an extent, with this, where it's like, at the end of the day, trans people aren't trying to tear apart women's issues.
Right.
They're in support of it, but they just want to be part of it. It's an interesting, and I guess just, when I break it down, I kind of can, but I can really see how I can be against the TERF movement, because at its core, it has to dismiss trans people's being.
Well, yeah, I guess when I boil it down to being like, I guess I haven't understood what it means completely.
Oh, I think you kind of do.
No, because my idea is kind of just like, all right, so we'll have this conversation here with biological women, and then we'll have this conversation with women as a whole, and then we can have a conversation with, you know what I mean? And then it just, you can break those little boxes down smaller and smaller. And then it's like, we can have a conversation with biological black women. You know what I mean? And there are systemic problems that cater to just directly them. And then there's a white woman who's like, no, I want to get into that meeting. And it's like, you haven't had these same experiences as us. And then there's like a woman who is white, but has grown up in like a black neighborhood and has had all those same experiences. And well, I should fit in there. You know what I mean? And that makes sense, but it makes sense why I can't discount their experience and be like, okay, well, yeah, black women have had a certain experience. They should get to feel the way they want. And if you were to look at Indigenous women, like in Australia, it's like of course, like no one should say you should do this. You should include white women in there.
I do. It does become like a visual thing. And this is where I can very much get on the side of trans women, like, especially when it comes to indigenous issues in general. It's very shaky because you have so many indigenous people who are just white passing, who just look completely just like an English person, completely white, red hair, but they're just half indigenous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, should they still speak on behalf of indigenous issues when I guess they, let's say themselves, have kind of like been afforded to not really experience so many of the things that people who look more visually indigenous have gone through. Well, like if you're white and have red hair and freckles, and you're indigenous, are you able to be part of that conversation?
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing with trans women at the end of the day, where it's like, I visually look like a woman. I've visually gone through all these feminine experiences. Can I be part of the group? Is that enough? And it's tricky as well. Like, even when you say this conversation here, that conversation there, I think the issue is that for one of the conversations to occur, it has to discount a whole group of people.
No, it doesn't.
It does, because basically at its core, it says that trans women are not actual women.
They're not biological women.
Or, I guess, or whatever the definition of they're not women.
Well, in that instance, it's kind of like dog whistling. Like, you're hearing what you think an actual woman is.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess...
Like you hear biological woman and then think actual, that's what an actual woman is.
Mm.
Or anyone
that
kind of get upset with that. Like, if there were... And we're speaking about this like a big concept, but if I was to think about my three sisters and they're in a room having a conversation about their actual experiences with like childbirth, for instance.
Yes.
Or postpartum depression, something like that. You know what I mean? And that's something that you have to be in that group to understand. You can kind of support it.
Oh, yeah. And this is the thing, like, I'm a very big fan of that because that's so specific. But I guess when you're just talking in very, very broad context, women's issues, and I guess even if you talk about, like, let's say there's a meeting that's just about stuff to do with women's reproductive issues and I don't even know, like period issues and stuff like that. And it's like, we're having a meeting like that, and a trans woman comes who is pre-op and has a penis. I don't think it would be fair for that person to go to that meeting. That's not a meeting that they would go to because they have a penis and this is a meeting where we're talking about vaginas.
You don't think they should?
It just doesn't. No, I don't think they should be in that meeting.
I definitely think they should be in that meeting.
Why? Because if there's a meeting that's talking about just like health, we're talking about experience with a vagina, someone with a penis shouldn't come in and say, yeah, I'm going to talk about my experience as well. I mean, I'm going to talk about my vagina, which isn't there. I have a penis.
Well, then what group do they go to?
They would have to go to a meeting where it's talking about penis health.
But they didn't have birth out of a penis.
Oh, no, I'm basically on your side here. I'm saying the woman with a penis shouldn't be in the group for women with vaginas.
But did they have birth out of that when they did have a vagina?
No. They had a penis their whole life.
Wait.
Yeah.
So they were born...
Oh, yeah, they were born a man. They're trans. They're a woman. They have a penis. They haven't had the surgery yet. But there's a one meeting that's talking about we're talking about our experiences with a vagina in particular. I can understand why a woman with a penis shouldn't go to that meeting.
Yes, because it's like
Yeah.
I've had blood come out of my vagina.
And we're talking about a very specific thing. When I say, hey, no, we're talking about our vaginas, or even like we're talking about childbirth. I don't think a trans person should go to a childbirth meeting. Because in this scenario, you have a penis or you haven't experienced childbirth. I can understand that. But I'm talking kind of in the broad context of a woman's meeting. I think a trans woman should be able to attend that when we're just talking about all things women. And then when it comes down to having children and stuff like that, they'll probably be a little bit more quiet because they haven't experienced that. It's just like when it talks about, let's say, people who have been catcalled when they're out on the street and there's a farm girl who's never left her ranch. She's going to be a little bit more quiet for that. And the trans woman may be a little bit more vocal in that because she's constantly catcalled and harassed by men. But I think like in the broad context of feminine issues, you're going to have such diverse experiences to a point where I feel you're going to have a lot of trans women who have had more experiences as a woman than most women.
That's a good argument.
And that's kind of where I think, like, let's say I've been a woman since I was 10. I've been assaulted by men. I've been catcalled. I've been talked down to by men. I haven't been able to get jobs. Am I allowed to go to a women's meeting? Am I a woman? And then for them to hop at the door, get to the door and be like, sorry, you're not a woman. You haven't had it. You don't know what it's like. I think that's a bit unfair.
Yeah, true. Well, I guess we'll never have to make those decisions.
Oh, we will, because we're going to be manning the door at the next women's meeting. And they need a man. They need a man to turn away the trans people. So, but yeah, it's a tricky. What'd you say?
Locking the door.
Yeah. Imagine if Louis C.K. was funny, he'd go to a women's meeting, block the door, and masturbate in front of all of them.
Yes.
If he was funny at all, that's what he would do.
Yes.
It would be great. But yeah, I think it's again, like I've been saying, I do want to have this conversation with a woman and hopefully a trans woman in person, because I feel it's very, very important. I'm sure they've even had this conversation on various YouTube channels with women talking on behalf of trans or discrimination within women's groups and TERF's point of view.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we should wrap it there.
I know, we'll wrap it. And again, sometimes when we do have these big conversations, it's hard to avoid it. But
yeah,
is there anything you want to add on that on that topic? But again, I can talk about this forever.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to add was I have my fingers crossed that whole time.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Psych. At the end, I just had to say psych. Of course, I can be a woman if I wanted to. They haven't been through anything. I should be given the right to go to women's meetings. As a man with a huge beard, turn up in a suit, be like, okay, ladies, what are we talking about? With a huge smirk on my face. And say I'm trans.
What about like finally getting to one of those meetings as like a trans woman and just talking down to everyone the whole time?
Sorry, sweetie. I don't think she has the brain capacity to keep up with us. I was going to say men for a second. Us women. Us certain women. Let's just call us funny and smarter women. That's what we'd call ourselves. But yeah, folks.
All right, that's it. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Live back in studio.
Yeah, and again, join the conversation. Send through some messages of what you think. Again, we will be having this conversation again, hopefully very soon.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Okay. Peace out, folks.
Yow, yow.